Hello there. So James O'Keefe has another video about everything surrounding the LA fires. This time it's the VP of what was it called? Statefarm. And basically they're the company that did the insurance policy for a lot of the houses there, and they pulled out basically a couple of months, no more, before the fires, which is interesting timing, I'm sure. So what did he have to say about that issue? Let's listen.
Patrick, Vice President of State Farm, revealed why State Farm pulled their policies from homeowners in California. He reveals it's the California Department of Insurance and Climate Change being the reason why State Farm canceled all the insurance policies.
So that shouldn't surprise you, right? The sort of woke crowd going and regulating something to the point that it's basically become defunct, and they pull away. Although, like I said, I still feel as though that might be a bit of more of an excuse considering how close this was to the fire. But perhaps they realized, hey, this isn't fire and we're due to have a bad one, considering due to green NGOs and agendas, we're not allowed to remove debris from the forest floor, we're not allowed to control burns. So basically we create a gigantic matchbox right next to, you know, the houses we're insuring. That's what the government policy does. And also there's no water. And you could see that there's no water for years. So add 2 plus 2, get 4, I guess. Anyway, let's let it play for a moment.
Heard that the insurances pulled out the California fire. It seems like it's all, I don't know, orchestrated.
It kind of is, not the way that you know this. Property prices in California appreciate more than 7% per year. The Department of Insurance in California is highly regulated. So our people look at this and say, we got like maybe $5 billion that we're short if something happens.
Which would be crazy. I mean, for an insurance company to not be able to afford the insurance because of inflation. How about we do something about the inflation? Like, oh, I don't know, stop raising the debt ceiling, stop printing money, I don't know, start repaying debt, just fix the problem? Probably not, but that's outside the scope of this discussion, I suppose.
Let's catch up on rating. I'm going to say, because the Department of Insurance and the Insurance Commissioner is an elected position, I will say, okay, then we are going to cancel this policy. So I'm saying, this home in Alabama is worth more. So our rating needs to increase to keep up with that. So we're constantly going and saying our data indicates that we're raising the increase faster.
Oh yes, what a great analogy for inflation. You know, the government usually tries to tell you that, oh, inflation was 2%, you know, inflation was 3%. If this is the speed at which the price of your house, if you are lucky enough to have already bought one, appreciates, then are you sure inflation isn't rising faster than you say? Some people will say, well, you know, housing prices are not the sole contributor to inflation. Yeah, but it's not just housing prices. People say the same about food prices, and if you look at the price of electronics, and it's basically everything. But this is a prime example, and housing still is a huge chunk of basically your spending for your entire life. If you can even afford it, because basically most of the younger generation statistically might not be able to in their lifetime.
Saying, well, we got to review this. They go to review, it can take 2 years to review.
Yeah.
Take 14 points of rate. 14% of the rate. And now we're chasing our tail.
Yeah.
And the system gets backlogged.
So essentially, they wanted to raise the prices a lot more than they were allowed, and that's their excuse for it. They pulled out basically like a couple of months before the fires, essentially. I'm actually not sure if this company specifically pulled out just a couple of months before the fire. There were companies that did. There were a bunch of companies, of course, providing insurance. It's not a monolithic thing, but it was an interesting phenomenon back there. Anyway, this guy also did some other rather, let's say, thought-provoking lines. So let's just see the beginning, where usually James stops all the most explosive stuff. So this case definitely not in favor of you being allowed to live anywhere outside the city. It seems just, how dare you? I mean, if you don't have buildings there, what's stopping the forest from creeping closer anyway? Not to mention, this entire thing should have been prevented simply by having water on hand to put out the fire, and actually not allowing the forest to become so flammable, which we know how to do. We've been doing it forever. People still today are doing it forever, everywhere, except in California and a few other places that are too woke to be allowed to, you know, get rid of the tinder, which is sad. But this guy definitely has opinions, and he's not mincing words about the victims, it seems.
Patrick is the vice president of innovation venture capital at State Farm. Hayden states they're moving away from hiring white people, wanting to hire more Hispanic and Latinos, getting towards the 2040 workforce.
I personally, I tasked my HR team finding me some leaders. You need to find me the talent profile of the workforce of the future.
Yeah, let me guess what the workforce of the future looks like. In 2023, the S&P 100 added over 300,000 jobs. 94% of them, I believe, were for non-whites. Do you remember that this country is still majority white? How exactly is like 60% whites translating into 6% new white workers in the 100 most successful companies in the world out of 300,000 new jobs? Yeah, I'm predicting that the workforce of 2040 looks a lot like the new workforce of 2023. Not the people currently working, but the people added to the top corporations, let's say. I wonder if I'm correct.
Hayden Kirkpatrick, vice president of State Farm, revealed why State Farm pulled their policies.
We already saw that. So there you have it. The man is openly saying he's biased against whites, and I'm saying this as someone who doesn't live in America and isn't white, but it's disgusting to see the racism. Essentially, these guys are going, we need, you know, by 15 years from now, we expect the white people to decline into a minority. Why though? Why do you say that? What exactly do you expect to happen in the meantime? Is it unchecked immigration in vast numbers? Are you saying that it's just going to naturally happen? Because before mass migration, you had a pretty stable configuration in terms of percentage of minorities and whites in America. It's going to be very interesting to see how this actually goes. What with Trump now in the White House, I do believe that the unchecked illegal migration is not going to be allowed to run rampant, and the naturalization process of, you know, all of the millions and millions of people who are already there illegally is also unlikely to be something that Trump would do. So we'll see about his predictions for 2040 having a much more Hispanic workforce. I just don't understand why these guys are so fixated with it, especially for someone like this who literally is cutting the branch on which he sits. You know, if you're so keen on having more Hispanic workers, how about you give up your job to an Hispanic man or woman, or they, them, or ziz, or whatever it is they want for diversity quotas these days? Obviously not. Obviously, the VP and the CEO, etc., they're all going to stay where they are. And maybe at some point when they retire, they might be replaced with a black trans lesbian, who knows. But on the other hand, if you're a new up-and-coming person, or let's say that you have been working there for a while, but in something that is more replaceable and has less political power, let's say, than our good friend here, the VP, then we can instantly just start firing you or just passing you over in favor of others who fit our basic requirements more. And by basic, I mean immutable characteristics, you know? The things that Martin Luther King said we should not judge people for. Instead, we should try and judge them by their character. And that doesn't seem to be the forte of State Farm, unfortunately. I can't help but feel as though merit has taken a hit in recent years, and you can see the decline in pretty much all aspects of life. Yes, due to the fact that especially the stupidity of it all. You know, it's not enough that they choose people to work because of their skin color or gender identity. What they do is, instead of going, we are going to get more of these people into the fields that have less of them. We are going to give them grants or help after school or whatever it is that they need in order for them to get the grades so that they can fit the job. Instead, it's just, we'll take whoever is available so long as you're not white or straight. That's how we're going to shore up the numbers. And guess what? It has bad consequences when you put people who aren't trained and educated for a role, and it requires these things in order to function in that role. Well, there's also not pretty. It is also not pretty at all. But honestly, with State Farm, perhaps it's better that they make mistakes and collapse, because I can't say that I very much value a company that is outright both dismissive of the victims it's supposed to serve, as well as openly antagonistic and racist towards more than half of the American population. I tend to view such people as less than desirable in any position of power. But that's just my 2 cents on the issue. Now, I don't think that there was that much more to it in this video from James. Look, if you can, of course, still watch it, I encourage you to. James does good work. But in my opinion, as far as how explosive it is compared to the usual fare from O'Keefe Media Group, I'd say it's less so, simply because we have already seen similar things and worse. About the fires, we've already seen people working for the mayor, I believe, if I remember correctly, saying that basically they knew about it and there was nothing they could do, that the fires were coming, which to me seems very strange, even unbelievable. And there were others who basically said the same thing about not hiring white people, quite a few of them, in fact, all over. So, again, it's definitely egregious. It's worth a look. It's important to fight it, but on the other hand, it's pretty much taken for granted in the current climate in the corporate world at least. Who knows, maybe with Trump around it'll change. Anyway, thanks for watching, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.